Audio Jungle.
This is your End Time Prophecy Update with W. Dean Shook.
Welcome to this edition of Prophecy News Update. I am your humble host, W. Dean Shook. I would like to start this update with Planned Parenthood, who has released their annual report for 2012-2013. They're reporting $540 million in tax dollars and 327,000 abortions. In response, the national pro-life group Susan B. Anthony has released a fact sheet on the information, revealing that while Planned Parenthood abortion rates has declined by 2%, abortions still account for 93.8% of Planned Parenthood's pregnancy services. Parental care services dropped 32% in 1 year and 52% since 2009. Adoption referrals have slowed down 4.5% in 1 year. For every abortion referral, Planned Parenthood performs 149 abortions. The fact sheet also details Planned Parenthood's finances, revealing that during fiscal year 2012-2013, Planned Parenthood reported receiving $540.6 million in taxpayer funding and nearly $1.5 million per day. Planned Parenthood reported $58.2 million in excessive revenue and more than $1.3 billion with a B in net assets. In 2012, Planned Parenthood performed 327,166 abortions. That's a 2% drop from 2011. And over the past 3 reporting years, 2010 to present day, Planned Parenthood has performed nearly 1 million abortions. And after reviewing, had the following comments. Business is booming for America's largest abortion provider, which receives public funding at a rate of $1.5 million per day. Planned Parenthood's largest annual report shows that they performed 100,000 more abortions in 2013 than 10 years ago. Meanwhile, cancer screenings and parental services, including adoption referrals, continue to drop. Planned Parenthood claims to be a trusted health care provider to women and girls, but their members tell a different story. Planned Parenthood is a business whose entire mission is to make profit from abortion. And just on a personal comment, it's illegal for taxpayers to pay for abortions. So how do they get away with this? What they do is they go before Congress and they say no tax dollars are being used for abortion, and they show their records, and their records are correct. They do not use taxpayer dollars for abortion. Instead, just like I pointed out in the last did on abortion, they take those taxpayer dollars and they pay all of their bills. All of the bills are paid. So everything that they have to do with those hundreds of thousands of abortions that they perform every year is pure profit, because you and I, the taxpayer, are paying their bills. And moving on to another story from Christian News Network. Deny Christ or die. Boko Haram tells a young Christian woman. A Nigerian woman was recently held by in Nigeria and ordered to convert to Islam or die. 19-year-old Hajjah told Reuters she was held by the group Boko Haram, told to renounce her Christianity or perish. Members of Boko Haram threatened to slit her throat if she did not give up her faith in Christ. Hajjah's last name has not been released, as she has family in northern Nigeria that would be in danger if identified. Well, she describes the moment that they told me I must become a Muslim, but I refused again and again. Hajjah said, they were about to slaughter me. One of them begged me not to resist, and just before I had my throat slit, I relented. They put a veil on me and made me read from the Quran. Boko Haram made Hajjah a domestic slave. She was forced to clean and prepare meals for the terrorist militia. Hajjah's testimony of captivity included Boko Haram using her as bait to lure civilian Nigerians working in the military into death traps. She witnessed Boko Haram militias slashing the throats of captured civilians. Later, she managed to escape from her captors. She told reporters it was hard for her to think about the ordeal. That I can't sleep when I think of being there, she said. If I cried, they beat me. If I spoke, they beat me. David Cook, a leading expert on Boko Haram and professor of religious studies at Rice University, told Fox News that the kidnapping of Hajjah mirrored the pattern of indoctrination, forced conversion, and kidnapping children that occurs in Nigeria over the last 5 years. Just last week, they kidnapped a French priest in Cameroon. Though totals of Boko Haram numbers are difficult to calculate, Cook estimated there was as many as 5,000. Boko Haram, which is translated into English as Western education is sinful, seeks to establish Sharia Islamic law in northern Nigeria. Well, President Goodluck Jonathan, a professing Christian, has waged war against Boko Haram in an attempt to root them out, and he's faced resistance from the group. Nigeria is divided into Muslim-majority North and Christian South. According to the International Christian Concern, which is a Christian organization that records Christian persecution around the world, many girls in Muslim-majority areas of the country are being abducted and being forced to renounce their faith. I'd also like to share a story from the Debka file. Now, when I seen this headline, I was a little bit surprised. I have to tell you, I had some skepticism when I read this headline. But I'm going to share it with you. This is from Debka file. Iran returns a second space monkey to Earth and stages a crisis in the nuclear talks. Yes, that's what I said. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani announced Saturday, December 14th, that a monkey had been successfully launched into space and brought back to Earth safely aboard a homemade biocapsule. The mission, dubbed Fargam, was the first to run on liquid fuel, he said, without providing any more technical information. Last January, when Iran sent its first monkey into space, American and Israeli strategists were caught by surprise by the technological capabilities displayed by Iran. Tehran's space program, says Debka file's military source, demonstrates its missile capabilities to reach on Earth. This is all the more disturbing in the context of the commitment Iran undertook under the interim nuclear accord that was signed with the six powers on November 24th. In that accord, they were to refrain from developing nuclear-capable missiles with a range beyond 2,000 kilometers. Well, the space launch Saturday virtually nullified that Kiva Accord on the skids at the first opportunity. The Iranians followed through on it after the White House acted Thursday, December 12th, to tighten sanctions by adding new Iranian companies and individuals engaged in the oil industry to the list of targets. Tehran had apparently threatened to break off nuclear negotiations if any more sanctions were imposed, and indeed, on Friday, the Iranian delegation abruptly terminated the talks taking place in the six powers in Vienna. Now, according to them, they announced they must return home for consultations. The delegation left unfinished work on the practical applications of this Geneva Accord, and they left a date set to start 6-month interim period and their freeze on their nuclear program up in the air. Well, finally, a disturbing story reported by Life News. This comes from Belgium, where the Belgium Senate has approved measures allowing doctors to euthanize children. The Belgian children are in more danger now than ever. The Senate voted 10-17 to extend euthanasia to children with disabilities in a move pro-life advocates worldwide have seen fearing would come and expand an already much-based euthanasia law and make it even worse. Of the 17 who voted against the bill, The majority were from the Christian Democrats, which is a traditionally Catholic political party. The vote today in full Senate comes from a Senate committee vote 13-4 to allow minors to seek euthanasia under certain conditions, and the measure also would extend the right to request euthanasia to adults with dementia. No age limit would be set, but the children who are euthanized would have to, quote-unquote, possess the capability of discernment. Euthanasia has been legal in Belgium since 2002, but has, in its enactment, been prohibited for patients under 18. Now, while euthanasia is legal in a handful of countries in Europe, Belgium is the first country in the world to lift all age restrictions in this practice. In 2012, Belgium recorded 1,432 cases of euthanasia, a 25% increase from 2011. My goodness. And I've saved the most disturbing story for last. And it starts with a question. Now that Obama is allowing chicken from China, what will that do to America's chicken industry? Do you know what's in your chicken nuggets? Well, thanks to Barack Obama, that's going to be a more important question than ever. At the end of August, the Obama administration quietly decided to start allowing Chinese poultry processors to ship chicken to the United States. Now, for now, the meat must originate either in the United States or in other countries that have poultry standards and are certified safe. What this means is that chicken from the United States will be shipped all the way overseas to China, processed in plants there, and then shipped back across the Pacific Ocean for us to eat. Only a limited number of companies are expected to take advantage of this, but according to U.S. Senator Charles Schumer, a USDA report that Congress has seen indicates that China will likely be allowed to directly import their own chicken into this country within a year. What makes all of this even more disturbing is that a country of origin label will not be required on any of the chicken that's processed in China. So in the years ahead, you could be eating chicken processed in China and not even know it. Every year, U.S. consumers spend about $70 billion on chicken. That's a tremendous amount of money. The U.S. chicken industry supports a huge number of jobs. So what's going to happen if cheap chicken from China starts flowing and flooding our market? It shouldn't take too much imagination to figure out what's going to happen. This is a movie that we've seen many times before over the past decades. Tens of thousands of U.S. businesses and millions of good-paying jobs have been lost due to competition from Communist China. And let me remind you, this is a country that can't seem to produce toys without lead in the paint and can't seem to produce pet food that's safe for pets. What's next? I am your host, W. Dean Shook.